Here's how to use Excel to make your life just a little bit better financially. Let's consider some different things we could put into our life. Let's start off with like the hours we work. I'm looking back here at the PowerPoint that we have. Right on the what is labor union page, we've got a sample union pay scale. I think this is for the local electricians. This is inside electrician, starting off at $21.54 an hour all the way to $53.85 an hour. What we want to know is, what does this look like over 10 years of working? So let's create a spreadsheet for that. On your spreadsheet, let's put some titles up here. Month, your wage, hours worked, money earned, and equivalent salary we're going to stick over here. All right, let's check over here, next page, and make sure we've got, let's see here, hours worked, money earned, total earned. All right, notice right off the bat, I've got some stuff just kind of squeezing in there. If I highlight this whole row and go up here to wrap text, kind of makes everything stick. We can center that, and let's give it a highlight color just to kind of make it stand out. I could also make those bold because, I like things to look pretty. And even this one isn't quite fitting in there. On top of each column, if I go between these two columns, my cursor changes like that. If I double click that, it still doesn't want to do it. I can just drag that over. I want that word equivalent to fit up there. All right, so let's start with the month. We're going to start this in June of this year, and I can just type 6/1 and hit enter. I don't like the way that looks because I want to see the year. Remember, we're going out 10 years. Highlight this column, and up here above the word number, there's a selection that says General. If I click this pull down, I can change that to Short Date. And now I've got the month, the date, and it put the year in for me. We want 10 years worth of salary for this. So I could type in every single month and date. That would take me too long. But down here in this bottom right-hand corner, my cursor changes to a little plus. If I drag that down, it will create a pattern. Right off the bat, I can see it's going by day instead of by month. So I have to tell it what my pattern is. In the second line, I'll just type 7/1. It's going to add in the year 2022 for me. Now, if I highlight both of these cells and then drag this down, I can see that it's going by month. Now, that number sign right there means, hey, dude, this doesn't fit in this space. If I go up to the top of the column and double click on that little space between the A and the B, it will automatically resize. So we're going to go all the way to 2032. We're going to go down 120 lines. So I'm just going to drag that down here to line 121. So my last date will be 5/1. On 6/1 of 2032, we're starting into our 11th year. Okay, now let's go to our wage table. And our first wage is $21.54 an hour, and that is for the first 1,000 hours. So that's 6 months worth of wages. So $21.54. If I click this and drag this down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Now notice, unlike the date, it didn't advance this. It just kept the same wage. So we've got 6 months of this. Let's go back at our wage table, 24.23. And we'll go 6 months of this. So that'll take us up to May of that year. And if I look down here in this corner, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but down here it says count 6. That kind of helps me figure that out. Back to my wage table, $26.93. And this one changes. Notice on my wage table, it goes from hours 2,000 to 3,500. If there's 2,000 hours in a year, this is 3/4 of the year, or 9 months. So we're going to do this wage for 9 months now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Down here, my count says 9. We're good to go. And then we go to 32.31. And this wage, again, 3,500 to 5,000. So that's another 9 months. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops, that's 8, 9. And then 37.70, and that's another 9 months. 45, whoopsie, come back here. 45.77. So that was for 9 months, and then 45.77 is for the last 9 months. And after that, that is our journey level wage. From here on out, it's $53.85. All right. Now, instead of dragging this, here's something new you can do. Since we've already started the left side and it goes all the way down to this row, with this highlighted, if I double click, it will fill all the way down to the end and stop right there. All right, and I notice on this, I want this to be dollars, so I'm going to click on that column right there, and up here in my number, we just hit the dollar sign and it converts that to money. Okay, so for hours worked, each month has a different number of days, so let's simplify this. There's 2,000 work hours in a year and 12 months in a year. So we're going to create our first formula. To make a formula, you press the equal key, and we're going to take our 2,000 hours and divide it by, or slash, 12. And it gives us 167.67 work hours in a year. And let's just copy that all the way down. It'll be the same for everything. All right, how much money did I earn in the month of June? Again, to make a formula, we do the equal sign, and we'll just multiply our wage times our number of hours worked. I'm literally just clicking on the cell and click on the cell. You can also type in B2 or C2. So my first month working, I make $3,590. And we can check our formula by double clicking on it, and it will show me the operation, the equal and the times, and it will show me the cells, B2 and C2. And over here, they're even highlighted, so I can double check and see where that's coming from. All right, easy part here, we just double click that, and it fills everything down the column. Right, so now when we're down here, we're making almost $9,000 a month by the time we journey out. All right, our equivalent salary, what are we making in a year? An easy way to do this is just to take our wage and multiply that by 2,000. That's a simple way to check out what your equivalent salary is. Okay, that's too big to fit in there, but if we double click this right here, $43,000. And one more time to fill this out all the way down, double click. Oh, it doesn't like that because this column's empty. So we're going to have to actually drag this one down. It only works when the column immediately next to it is full of something. Okay, one more time, it doesn't fit, so let's just double click that. So, wow, look at that. The end of your journey, or at the end of your apprenticeship, when you're a journey worker, you're making $107,000 a year. Okay, so we're basically done with our wages for this first part. I do want to name this worksheet, so down here where it says Sheet 1, double click that, and we'll call that Wages. All right. We're going to come back to this and do some more with it later, but let's move on to the next sheet. Okay. Let's make a sheet right here. Click this plus button. Double click this, and we're going to call this renting. Right? Because if you're working, you got to pay for a place to live. Okay, let's look back at our PowerPoint and see what's going on here. So we've done this one already. For the renting, we have the month, the rent, the total paid, and your value. This will be a pretty easy one. So let's make this kind of big so we can see it. Month, rent, total paid, and your value. And I'm just going to clean this up because I want it to look pretty. We'll wrap text, we'll center it, we'll give it a color here. I don't know, blue seems good, and make it bold. All right, just like before, we're going to fill out our month, 6/1. There it goes again. I'm going to go ahead and type 7/1 while I'm in here. Select this column, and over here we're going to go to short date so we can see all of that. This time we're going to go down 30 years. Okay, 30 times 12, that's 360. We've got our first row that doesn't count, so we're going to select these two. We're going to drag this all the way down to line 361. Right there, and that should be 5/1/2052, 30 years from now. Okay, and we've got that number sign thing. So one more time, we'll just double click that. All right, we got a screaming deal on an apartment. You're never going to believe this. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It's got a pool, jacuzzi, everything. It's only $1,200 a month, man. You're going to want to move into this place. Okay, and even better, this is fixed rent. Okay, this is like totally made up stuff. This doesn't happen in real life. Double click that, fill this whole thing down, and it's money. So let's click the money option up here to make that money. All right, so yeah, 30 years from now, you're still paying $1,200 a month. What are the chances of that happening? Okay, total paid on an apartment. So the first month, our total paid is literally just the first month's rent. Type the equal sign, click on that sign right there, boom. In the second month, we have to do a little bit more math here. We're going to take whatever I paid in July, and we're going to add it to whatever's right up above it, and hit enter. And if I drag this down one more, right, so it's checking out, my pattern's right. So I haven't even had to type anything new. And if I double click this, notice it moved these 2 cells down. Now if I go like this, and I just double click that whole thing, expand my column, at the end of 30 years, that's how much money you've spent on rent. Okay, our next topic is buying a house. What does that look like? Be ready for some math. There's one more thing we need to do here, and that is your value. So if you are renting, the value you are putting into that, what you own in the apartment is that right there, $0. Let's go ahead and make that dollars. Okay. Now notice when I change it to dollars, it just leaves a dash right there. I'm okay with that. Okay, guess what our value is in month 2? Still nothing. Month 3, still nothing. Month 4, still nothing. If I go all the way down here at the end of 30 years, your value in that apartment is approximately, no, it's exactly 0. All right, so object lesson over. Let's move on to buying. Down here, we'll create a new tab, double click that, and we're going to call this buying. All right, make this big so we can see it here. Okay, over on our PowerPoint, we can see the headings we need. We've got month, principal, interest rate, payment, interest payment, principal payment, new principal, and your value. It's a whole bunch more going on here. We'll walk this through. If I'm going too fast, some of these formulas are right in here, including this dollar sign. Remember this dollar sign. That's important in a minute. Also, pay attention to the plus or minus signs when you're doing your math operations. I'll show you that too. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our headers. Month, principal, interest rate, payment, interest payment, principal payment, new principal, and your value. All right, and you know what's coming next. We're going to clean this up. We'll wrap text, center it, give it a happy color. I don't know, yellow, that seems happy. Boldface, and everything fits in there. All right, just like before, 6-1, 7-1. Change this column to date. Short date will do. Go like this, and we're going down 30 years again, line 361. Five 1 2052. Expand that out a little bit so we can see it. And back to the top. All right, we are going to buy a house. We got a screaming deal on a house. It's $250,000. Okay, good luck finding that anywhere. And right off the bat, let's go ahead and change this to dollars. There we go. Notice it even widened it for me. Okay, interest rates are going up. There are interest rates like 2% a year. Let's, be kind of conservative here. We'll go 4.25%. Now I can do a couple things. If I just type 4.25, it's going to think of that as 425% because interest rate is actually a decimal. So we could either type 0.0425, or if I just type the percent sign, it's going to be like, hey, I got this. I can figure this out. This is really 0.0425. All right, now for the math part. There's people smarter than me that know how to figure this out, but this is Excel, and this is where Excel is just amazing because there's a formula for that. Okay, if I look back on my page here, it tells me right there, PMT is the formula formula for payment. So we'll type PMT, and you can see that it's giving me a list of possible options down there. We'll do the first one. Parentheses starts the formula. And now we can see that it's asking me for some different things in here. And you can actually click on these and it'll tell you what they mean. So the first thing is the rate. We're going to click on that, hit comma. The next thing is the number of periods. So we're making a 30-year loan. Okay, but we're making more than 30 payments because we got to make monthly payments. It's actually 30 times 12. Now I could go over here and I could use my calculator and say, oh, what is 30 times 12? I could just type 360 in there, but here's the beauty of Excel. It'll do the math for you. Just type it in just like that, and it's going to figure out that that is actually 360. PV is our principal value. And again, if you didn't know what this was, you could click on this and it would tell you, but I'm telling you right now. The principal value is this right here. And that's it. If I hit enter, there's my loan. Now, wait a minute. I borrowed money before. $10,000 a month seems like a lot to pay for a house. It's only $250,000. What did we do wrong here? Okay, we got our rate, C2. Now, this is an annual rate. Okay, and since we're doing monthly payments for 30 years, we have to turn that rate into a monthly rate. It's compounded monthly. So what that means is they take this 4.25% and they divide that by 12 for the year. So since we're paying our payments monthly, we also have to do the interest monthly. We have to divide that by 12. So I'm taking my payment, dividing it by 12. There's 30 times 12 payments, and we're starting with B2. Let's hit enter and see what happens. All right, $1,229.85. That seems like about the correct payment for that loan. Okay, so when you make a payment on a loan, you're paying two parts. Part of this $1,200 goes into the interest, what you owe the bank just for borrowing the money, and part of this goes to your principal, the money that you make back, or sorry, the money that you pay down on your loan. So the interest payment is going to be whatever I owe. So we start a formula with equals. What I owe is this amount right here, and we're going to multiply that by the interest that we charge. Now remember, this is an annual interest and we're paying by the month, so we have to divide that by 12. Okay, so of my $1,200 payment, $800 of that just goes to the bank and doesn't even go towards paying down this loan. I want this principal to become zero eventually. So my principal payment is going to be whatever's left. So if I take this dollar amount and I subtract this dollar amount, I should get the principal payment. But that doesn't make sense. How can I get a number that's bigger? Remember I said to pay attention to the sign. Since this is a negative number, we need to make this plus instead of minus, right? So now 344 plus 885 equals 1,229. So the parentheses means it's a negative number. So out of my $250,000, I paid $1,229.85. $885 went to the interest. This much went to the principal. So my new principal at the end of the month is going to be whatever I started with minus what I paid towards principal. Now again, pay attention to what happened here. My loan went from $250,000 to $250,000, 344. It got bigger. Okay, so we go back over here. This is a negative number, so we have to add it in. That makes more sense. Okay, so I made a payment. My loan got smaller by that much. Now my value in the house. Let's zoom out just a little bit more. Get that all in there. So my value in the house is going to be whatever the house is worth minus whatever I owe. So I still owe this much. That means I own $344 of my house right now. Okay, which makes sense. That checks out because this much went to the principal in the first month. Okay, now right off the bat, there's a couple of mistakes in here we're going to have to fix. You thought you were done with them all. Okay, the great thing about this is you just kind of check as you go. Once you get a couple rows, it'll start working. All right, so now July 1st, 2022, my principal at the beginning of this is actually what was left over at the end of the previous month. So I type equals, and I go over here to new principal, and I just hit enter. So these two numbers are the same. The interest rate will be the same. The payment, we're just going to use that same formula again, but wait a minute. That shouldn't change. When you take out a loan on something, once they calculate the payment, that payment stays the same for the duration of the loan, as long as you have a constant interest rate, which we do. So let's look and see what we did wrong. Okay, we went up here, we took the principal, we times it by the interest rate. Okay, double click here. But look where it's looking for the principal. It's like you start a new new loan every month. We got to fix that. So we go back to the top line, and here's where that dollar sign comes in. Remember back here on this page, your value, and we have this dollar sign right here. I need to add a dollar sign to the principal value. So that B2 right there, I want to do a dollar sign B and a dollar sign 2. And what that says is when you copy this down, this B2 never changes. Right? When we look down here, that went to C3, right? And if I copied that again, it'd be C4, C5, C6, C7. By putting a dollar sign there, it says no matter what row that's on, it will always be B2. Watch. If I drag this down, now these two payments match. And if I double click here, it's grabbing the interest rate from down here, but it looks up here to the original principal value. Okay, let's go ahead and just copy these down. I'm going to double click that. Those are blank. Don't worry about that yet. Let's double click the interest rate. It's going to copy that down for 30 years. Let's copy the payment down. And notice that payment is the same every single month. Interest payment we can copy down. Now notice my interest payment got a little bit smaller. That should happen. As you're paying down a loan, every month there's a little bit less interest because there's less principal, which means my principal payment should do what? It should get bigger. Now look at this jump right here. That's because we haven't filled all this in. Okay, and my new principal, let's copy that down. Now it looks like it might be right. Now notice all this filled in. There's one more mistake, and we're going to have to go back to this principal value to check something. But let's do our value, and we'll be able to really see what's going on here, right? So my first month, I made $344. I own that much of the house. That's the equity I have in my house. If I double click this, look at the second month. That should go up by another $300 or so, right? Shouldn't that be almost $700? What happened here? Okay, let's go back to your principal. Okay, so when it says my principal, it's how much is the house worth minus what I paid. But look over here, my principal is $250,000, not $249,000. So we need to go back to the first row. Okay, anytime we're looking at this principal here, well, probably not every time, but on this one, we want to change that B2 to $B, $2. Okay, and what that's saying is on the second row, if I double click this down now, okay, what did I do wrong here? All right, that should be $900. Fun fact, I had to pause the video and see what I did. I found out what I did. Okay, so we're looking for this to be 700. I gave you the wrong formula. The new principal, this one should have been B2. Sorry about that. Right, because we're taking the principal, we're minusing the principal payment. That should be the same all the way down. Okay, now this is still wrong over here. It's your value, right? The value of the house is always from $250,000. Okay, my value in the house is $B, $2. And let's double click that down to see what happens. Boom. Okay, so look at that. It doubled 300 to 600 to 1,000 to 1,300. So it's going up more than $300 a month. Okay, so if you missed that, the new principal right here is just my principal, B2, plus F2. Okay, and then that copies down. So if I look at the next row, it's going to be whatever my principal is minus my principal payment. Your value is always going to go back to that original June 1st purchase amount. And then it's going to subtract off what we paid, or it's going to subtract what the new principal is. Okay, so if I go down here, it's what my house was originally borrowed for. Oops, I shouldn't click on that. What my house was originally borrowed for minus what I still owe. That's how much I owe. So my value in the house what the house is worth minus what I owe on it. Now, this is not even close to realistic because as time goes on, my house is going to be worth more and more money. But let's put that aside for now. Let's just keep it easy. All right, so at the end of 30 years, my loan balance is 0 and my value is $250,000. Okay, I own $250,000 in assets and I owe 0 on that. Compared to renting at the end of 30 years, I've paid $432,000 and I still own 0 of it. All right, so this takes us to the end of the first part. We're going to come back and do a couple things, but I'm going to put that into the next video, so stay tuned for that.